Hello everybody, welcome back, if you're returning, that is. If you're new, thank you for coming and clicking on my video and supporting me. So today's video, this is, just a couple of things that I've experienced personally, like I've said. So this is just my experience. If you don't want to take my word for it, you don't have to. I'm not saying that you have to, but again, my experience. Everybody's experience is not going to be the same as my experience. So, when you're not, number one is when you're not in a good place, and you being the good-hearted, kind-hearted person that you are, extend a hand to help someone else. Now, this is definitely not a good situation to put yourself in, and I've put myself in it multiple times. I don't know when I'll ever learn, but yes, like I said, extending a hand to somebody, to try and help them out when you yourself are not in a good place. When you're not in a good place, the best thing for you to do is focus on yourself. It might be selfish, you're gonna have to be selfish, because if you want to build yourself up from scratch, or you want to go to, successful places or heights that other people can only dream of reaching, you're gonna have to make the sacrifices to do so. And by doing so, that means cutting off all negativity. Every drop of negativity that is in your life, cut it off, and watch, you'll start flourishing. That's exactly what happened to me this past year, and yeah. So number two is when you feel like you're being taken advantage of. So chances are 9 times out of 10, if you feel like you're being taken advantage of, you are. Point blank, period, simple. If somebody is doing something to make you give them the side eye, like, you probably shouldn't be doing that. Like, yeah. If you have to question it, chances are you're being used. So dealing with users, in my experience, sometimes it's best to get other people involved. When I was younger, I wasn't confident enough to be like, you're not, you can't just take advantage of me. Like, I'm more confident now, but back in the day, I was not confident. Like, I used to let people walk all over me. I used to let them do whatever. And that's another good reason why I feel my husband came into my life, is because his presence is very, powerful. So it's hard for people to take advantage of me now. Obviously, not everybody is going to have somebody there to stand up for them. I stand up for myself now. I'm not saying by any means that I use my husband to stand up for me. No, I stand up for myself. I've been through so many situations where I've had to learn how to stand up for myself. If you can't stand up for yourself, I'm sorry. I don't mean to come off sounding rude, but if you can't stand up for yourself, you're going to have a tough journey in this life, because if you're a nice person, you get taken advantage of. It's just the harsh reality of life. So, sorry. Moving on. When you feel like you're being manipulated, this also, goes into the last question. If you feel like you're being manipulated in any way, shape, or form, you probably are. It's that simple. I dealt with somebody that was very, very manipulative. People like that will have you thinking that you're in the wrong when they know daggone well that they're in the wrong. And you just don't need people like that. Seriously. And when you try and stand up for yourself, like, they make you feel bad. They're just like, oh, well, you don't have to be so mean. Like, where was that sympathy when you were throwing all that my way? Like, come on now. So anyways, that's that. If you feel like you're being manipulated, get yourself out of the situation. I know it's easier said than done. It was hard for me to get myself out of the situation too, but it has to be done. For you to be happy, you can't keep going around in the same cycles. So it has to be done. So yeah. Number 4, when you feel like you're being forced to do something that you don't want to do. Now, that in itself is a very toxic situation. If you're not, strong-willed enough to tell somebody no, then I'm sorry, but the world might eat you up. It ate me up. seriously, I had such a problem saying no, and like I got used so many times, guys. When I tell you, like, there's so many times that I've been used, it's ridiculous how many times I let myself get used, because it's nobody's fault that I got used but my own, because I wouldn't open my mouth. So you have a mouth, use it, because if you don't, people will walk all over you. It's that simple. Number 5. So if you, this is kind of a rough subject to talk about, because I know, you know, as women, especially like when we feel insecure, we start looking at, you know, things that other people have, and well, besides that, jealousy. If you feel like somebody's jealous of you, or, you know, you're feeling like you're jealous of somebody else, the best thing for you to do is get yourself out of the situation. Because reason being, if you're jealous of somebody, obviously having them there is an issue for you, and you know, you need to grow as a person. So you need to nip that in the butt. You know, it's not that person's fault, obviously. I mean, if they're throwing it in your face, they don't need to be there anyway, because, you know, why would you keep somebody around like that? But you know, if you're jealous, or if you feel like somebody's jealous of you or something, the best thing to do is leave the situation, or leave it and come back to it, you know, when you feel like, you know, tensions are not as high as they were. Because jealousy, that's a whole nother thing that anyways, moving on. When you're the only one giving in a relationship. So that, number 6, when you're the only one giving in a relationship, that could be any relationship. That could be you know, your relationship, husband and wife, boyfriend and girlfriend, friends, family, anybody. If you're dealing with an individual that all they seem to do is take, and never give anything back, not that you should expect anything in return for helping somebody. You should never expect anything in return. But if it comes to the point where you're constantly giving and constantly giving and constantly giving, and they're constantly taking, and they never offer to, like, I don't know, do anything, like help you out at all, like, that is not cool. You need to nip that. I've also experienced this. I've been through a lot. Let's just leave it at that. Individuals like that as well, you just really don't need to keep around. So yeah. Number 7, this is kind of a personal one for me, because I've been through it, like, geez, I don't know how many times. So this is basically when your roommate won't pay rent. That is a toxic situation. I'm sorry. It is. If you're in a situation where, you know, you're basically dependent on somebody else to pay the rent, that's toxic. Reason being is because, you know, you set your budget to your bills, and if they're not paying their bills, you know, that leaves both. And it's not only that. I mean, it leaves both of you guys potentially with no place to stay. That's very selfish on their part, you know, because just because they don't want to pay their bills, you don't want to get thrown out. So to combat that, my personal experience would be, if you're going to move in with somebody, make sure that 1, they're either, you know, somebody that you know and trust, or 2, make sure that you know without a doubt that you can pay all the bills if this person, you know, because if this person doesn't want to pay their bills, you got to be able to cover it. Like, you can't be getting thrown out. That's ridiculous, and that's irresponsible on your part. So, you know, that's that. When someone is talking down to you. So now this one, I don't care who it is, it's disrespectful for you to talk down to somebody. It doesn't matter who you are, who you think you are, if you think you're superior, if you think that you're not superior, it doesn't matter. Everybody deserves respect. And if you can't give somebody respect, then what makes you think that you're gonna get respect back? You know what I mean? Like, it's a give and take situation. If you're not gonna respect me, then, you know what I mean? I mean, it doesn't have to be that way. I mean, obviously, if somebody doesn't respect you, you can take the high road, but For what? Like, I'm not, excuse me, not for what, but like, you should always take the high road. But if somebody disrespects you, just know, like, well, me personally, if somebody disrespects me, just know, like, I don't play those games. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to talk about, like, you know, the side effects and the cause and effects of like situations that you could be potentially putting yourself into. Like, okay, so for instance, if you're in a hostile environment every day of your life, you know, it's going to take a toll on you mentally. It's going to take a toll on you physically as well, because, you know, you're going to get depressed. Well, I don't know if you're going to, but you can get depressed and, you know, potentially stop eating or overeat. So there's some people out there that overeat because they're upset. You know, that's dangerous. You know, it can, there's just a bunch of things that, you know, can tie everything all together with, you know, everything that I just discussed and went over with you guys. Like, seriously, being in hostile environments is not good for your health at all. It's not good for your mental health. It's not good for any above all, you know, health factors. Is not good for. Just, you know, I'm keeping it real. It's not good. And another thing that can happen is you really, in all honesty, can start, like, situations like that can make you want to start, like, retreating into yourself. You know, that's what happened to me personally. Like, I felt like there was nobody around that I could actually, like, talk to that would, you know, understand. The only person that I knew that was around that would understand what I'm going through is my husband, because my husband was going through everything with me. So we both, you know, had the same perception of what was going on. And that's another thing that can help out, is, you know, having somebody there with you that can not necessarily carry you, but lift you up. Even if it's just a best friend, having somebody is better than having nobody. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's that. So those are things that could happen if you let yourself get wrapped up in toxicity and negativity and things like that. But yeah, so follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Instagram is Julia DeShields. Follow me on YouTube, of course. Well, if you want, you don't have to. But have a good rest of your day, and peace out.